guys, welcome to this update video. I trust and hope you're doing awesome this morning. So we're going to be looking at what's going on across the tropics, and we've got a new area to watch. And I mean, it's kind of crazy. I was literally talking to a friend about it last night, saying that I'm expecting that by this morning the National Hurricane Center is going to be marking the area, and that's exactly what's happened. So we've still got tropical storm Debby loitering offshore, just along the coast rather of South Carolina, and then we have that newly highlighted area. So that is where we could see some development take place next week. And the thing is, it's not just about the ensembles. All models are showing some level of development, even a hurricane possible from the next disturbance that will form within this area by next week. So we're going to be looking at what they're showing, and we'll be looking at what's currently happening and the forecast for today. So let's get straight into it. All right, so let's kickstart. And as I had mentioned, we still got Debby loitering out there. It's a problem for the U.S. There's still that tropical storm warning in effect for much of South Carolina, parts of North Carolina as well. So Debby is moving to the northwest at only 5 miles per hour, so a very slow mover, and it has maximum sustained winds up to 50 miles per hour. So the center is moving onshore, and as it moves on, it will quickly weaken and eventually become post-tropical by tomorrow and quickly move out. So it's been moving very slowly and a bit erratically in the area, but it's going to be having that opportunity to quickly make its way out to the northeast as we head into this weekend. Eventually it could approach portions of Atlantic Canada by Saturday. So that's what's going on with Debby. It's still a major rain threat for parts of these southeastern states, and please stay safe if you're being affected by Debby, guys. Now let's go to the Caribbean. We're looking at these satellite imagery here first. So there you can see Debby up there, a rainfall threat, a couple thunderstorms through parts of the Bahamas near Central America, where we've got a tropical wave that was previously marked. Now that one no longer expected to develop, so it has not really consolidated into anything much. But the one that's going to be coming in from the main development region will have the better chance of actually becoming something. A couple passing clouds and showers for the Lesser Antilles this morning as well. Elsewhere should be pretty sunny for the most part for this morning. Could see some action kick up in the afternoon hours. We'll look at the rainfall map in a minute, but there you can see all of that activity out there. So with the tropical waves coming off of Africa moving west, they help to enhance all that moisture in the atmosphere. And overall, once other conditions become favorable, that is when a conducive environment is existing for the potential of development of these systems. So an area of low pressure is expected to form within the coming days, and as it is going to be moving to the west and eventually to the west northwest or northwest, it is likely to develop. So as I said, all of the models are showing development, and this is the time of year to keep our eyes on the main development region. Now, in terms of the potential track of it, whether it stays outside the Caribbean or move further into the Caribbean will depend on a couple of things, but we're going to get to it in a moment. So let's go ahead and look at the rainfall forecast for today for the Caribbean first, then we'll talk more about the disturbance. So here we can see the map, pretty colorful around Central America, especially for El Salvador, parts of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, few spots in Honduras as well. A little bit of color around for the Bay Islands, so there could be quite a bit of rain, and the more color we see indicates more rainfall. So maximum rainfall amounts could be up to 2.5 or even 3 inches for parts of Central America today. Couple passing showers possible for the Yucatan, much of Guatemala, Belize, even the Keys as well, headed to northern South America. It's going to be generally active in that area. ABC Islands, Lesser Antilles, and throughout the Greater Antilles, likely to experience some passing showers or even some afternoon thunderstorms kicking up as the day goes on. Cayman Islands may also experience some downpours, and then we see a lot of color around for parts of the Bahamas, and Turks and Caicos Islands may not experience much rain though, but we definitely saw earlier that there was some thunderstorm activity and some showers within the vicinity of the Bahamas. Let's go back to our disturbance. So we're not seeing an X, and that's because the area of low pressure has not yet formed but is expected to do so. And let's take a look at what the models have to show, and we'll talk about the different factors that will influence where this thing goes, because it's likely that we will see development. Number one, we've got those very warm surface waters. Number two, as I mentioned before, those tropical waves, they really help out to moisten the environment so that it can be more conducive to allow for development. And then number three, once those upper level winds are conducive, there isn't much to stop these things from getting themselves together. So we're kickstarting things with the GFS model. Now this may be a little bit complex, however, let me break it down. So we've got these black squiggly lines all around. They're called isobars, and they join areas of equal pressure. They're imaginary lines, of course, and we can see the outline of the different land areas such as North America, Central America, the Caribbean islands. Now, when we see these little black squiggly lines in a circular manner and we're seeing an L, that is indicating an area of low pressure. But the thing is, there is a value there, a number. When that number is dropping and when those isobars are becoming a lot more tightly packed and there's a lot of them, that is a sign of intensification. And we also got the forecast time up here for Tuesday, for example, the 13th of August. And all these green colors are seen, even the spots of yellows, oranges indicate the moisture, the precipitation rate. So let's go ahead and move forward here. As we're going to be heading into Tuesday, a tropical storm is expected just offshore the Lesser Antilles. And then we can see that by Wednesday, here we're seeing what I mentioned. We're seeing more isobars. They're getting tightly packed. And the previous value we saw is around 1,001 millibars. Now it is down to 978 by this time. So GFS is expecting strengthening into a hurricane of whatever is going to try to form here, moving through the northern islands of the Caribbean, the Leeward Islands. Now take a look at that system up there, a frontal system. Usually with the areas of high pressure, they're the ones that allow for a more westward track of these systems, a subtropical high pressure system out there. But when it is displaced further to the east, especially when we have these frontal systems coming out, that's going to create an opportunity for this thing to curve up. Let's look at the forecast. That's what we see happening. We see it exiting the Caribbean, being offshore the Turks and Caicos Islands, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, but intensifying even more because it has the opportunity to curve up and out, because these things have a natural tendency to want to go north. But once those high pressures sit over the Atlantic, the subtropical Atlantic, and they're strong enough, they will allow for these systems to move generally west. That's what happened with Beryl, for example. We had a pretty dominant area of high pressure to the north, so that's why Beryl moved on a generally westward track. But for this thing here, it's kind of a consistency with models as well, that we're going to see a curve up and out. And the rate of intensification also matters. So a weaker system will kind of move a little bit more to the west, but these stronger ones, they really want to go up there to the north. And then eventually, as we head to the following week, late Monday on the 19th of August, we see this thing here being offshore, the U.S. offshore Bermuda, as a hurricane out there. So that's what GFS is expected. I wouldn't say the intensity is necessarily robust, especially for this time of year, because once all the conditions are conducive, there isn't anything much to really stop these things from intensifying. Not to mention the very high ocean heat content, a lot of deep, warm water just sitting around waiting to fuel these systems as they intensify. Going on to the Euro model, Euro is expecting that we won't see development as the system approach the Caribbean, but rather in the Caribbean. This is for Tuesday the 13th as well. So for Tuesday the 13th, GFS was showing something outside the Caribbean and intensifying into a tropical storm. But as for Euro is showing it's moving into the Caribbean and maybe intensifying into, let's say, around a tropical depression or so, not too organized. But then as we're going to be heading into Thursday, Euro has this thing making its way over Hispaniola and potentially being a tropical storm at this point, intensifying as it crosses through the Bahamas, the Bahamian Islands by Friday the 16th of August, and eventually further intensifying, getting stronger by Saturday of next week. So we've got the Euro model expecting that. Next, we have the Icon model also showing that, hey, we could have a depression, maybe a storm in the Caribbean, crossing through the islands, eventually making its way up. There's that frontal system to open up the opportunity for it to move up and out. So we can see that sort of consistency among our models. We're seeing some variation in terms of how strong this thing will be at the different time frames. And the truth is, we're going to continue to see some variations because it is some days out. So there are bound to be some changes in regards to the model forecasts. But the general thing expected is that, hey, we're going to have something developing either in the Caribbean, just outside the Caribbean. It could be a problem for the Caribbean, especially the northeastern islands. So if you're in the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Hispaniola, even the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, I would definitely say to keep watch for next week, because we could very well have our next named storm. And this is not a full guarantee, by the way, even though all models are showing development, and it is pretty likely, especially based on the time of year. It is not set in stone that, hey, we're going to have a tropical storm, we're going to see a hurricane out there. It's possible, but let's be a bit conservative for right now and wait and see what eventually happens and if the trends continue. And of course, that's why I'm here to keep you guys updated. But just saying, we should be keeping watch. The aforementioned areas should keep an eye high. And in terms of the names for the hurricane season, we have Debbie active out there. The name after Debbie is the letter E, Ernesto. So that's the next name on the list for the hurricane season. I do think that whatever will form will have a solid chance at becoming our next tropical storm. But I'll keep you guys updated, as I said, and that is basically it for this update video. So I hope you found it to be informative. But if you have any further questions, please do leave them in the comments. I'll get to you when I have the chance to do so. And remember to always be weather wise.